Final lesson of this preparation module is how to integrate Waves Keeper. Waves Keeper is a browser extension that allows users to manage their accounts, their private keys, and interact securely and seamlessly with Waves-enabled web services and DApps. We'll talk in detail about Waves Keeper later. Now let's understand why we need Waves Keeper. Users in blockchain can do something only by sending transactions, and the transactions should be signed by their private key. We'll talk about it as well in the next modules. Third-party applications can ask the user for his private key, but it is not secure because then this application can send any transactions from a user's account. So we need a more secure way to interact with third-party apps without revealing our keys. Waves Keeper provides that secure way. When apps can request a signature for a specific transaction, not for our private key. In this lesson, we will integrate interaction with Waves Keeper for a user. For now, only authorization. We will get the user's address and public key, not private key. We're not even going to ask to sign a transaction in this example. This is a way to authorize users without login and password, just using their blockchain accounts and cryptography. Let's go and implement it. Now we have our very basic and simple web page with the one text, one message, and with one button. Our main goal here is to make it possible to get the user's address in the blockchain and user's public key and some more public data using Waves Keeper. Waves Keeper is a browser extension. So first of all, we have to install Waves Keeper. And to do so, you can read the page getting started with the Waves Keeper in the official Waves documentation website at docs.wavesplatform.com. I'll provide all the useful links below in the description of this video. I'm not going to talk how to install, how to download, how to create an account because it is a bit pointless because you already have all this needed information in this article. So feel free to read this article and to get all the needed details. Now, we will focus mostly on the code, how to integrate Waves Keeper into your application. In our case, we have to modify our app. We have to modify our app.js file. First of all, we have to change a bit what is happening when we click on the button, on the auth button. We have to define a new function. In my case, I called it auth_func, or you may call it as you want. This auth_func should do very simple thing. It should ask Waves Keeper to authorize a user. So our app actually requests Waves Keeper to give permissions to some public data like address, public key, etc. You'll see all this data a bit later. If user says, okay, it sounds like everything is okay for me, it looks like everything is okay for me, he presses approve, and then our application gets the result, gets this public data. Most important things to mention. First of all, when user has Waves Keeper installed, in the global scope, you will find an object called Waves Keeper. Here is it. I have installed Waves Keeper, as you can see, here is it. And this page will understand that I have Waves Keeper by trying to find a Waves Keeper variable in the global scope. That's what we do in our auth_func. We try to find this Waves Keeper in the global scope. If it is there, then everything is okay. Otherwise, we say to auth Waves Keeper should be installed. That's pretty simple. Here you can see all the methods, all the available methods for Waves Keeper. One of those methods is auth. So in our case, we will run this auth method, and this auth method requires some data. Why? Because user will actually sign this data, so later in our application, we can verify that this address actually belongs to this user because signature for this screen was correct. We're not going to check this. We're going only to make the simplest integration with Waveskeeper. We will get only the basic information and we will not go in even to validate it. So when everything is okay, when promise is fulfilled, we'll log into the console the authorization data. If user rejected our request to those permissions, then we will print an error in our console. So we modified this app.js, we modified our component. Also, we changed the onClick handler. So now we will not just alert some simple text, we will call this auth-func. But now we have to rebuild our application. Let's stop our server and run it again. npm run start, and great, it says it is listening port number 5000. Now let's try to reload the page and click the auth button. Great, Waveskeeper is opened. It says that here's the data. Would you like to authorize this application, this localhost application? And it wants to get an access to our Waves address. And I say, okay, everything looks fine for me. Close, great. And now in the console, we have some data about our user. We have some, we have address, we have public key, and we have a signature for data we provided to the Waveskeeper, to this auth method for this stream. Great. Looks like it works. To be honest, Waveskeeper is not the only way to authorize users. There is another product called Waves Signer. So you can find more details in the official documentation as well. Waves Signer, it's a kind of wrapper for different types of authorization providers. Waveskeeper is one of them. In this course, we're not going to talk about Waves Signer. We're going to talk about Waveskeeper, but if you want to make a production-ready application, I highly recommend you to work with Waves Signer because it supports different types of key storages. So it allows your users to store their keys not only in Waveskeeper, but in hardware wallets, in Waves Exchange, for example. So they can store their seed phrase in the local storage of the exchange, and your app will just request the exchange to give permission to sign transactions, for example. So I'll provide some interesting links about Waves Signer as well. At this point, you'll also have one required step to do. You will have to deploy your application on Heroku. They have a free plan. I'm not going to talk about how to deploy. This is kind of assignment, and you can do it on your own. This is very simple to deploy your application on Heroku. And also, I highly recommend you to commit all of your changes in the code and to push it to your GitHub repository. The basic integration with Waveskeeper is very simple, as you could see. And now we know all the needed technologies to go further and continue building our Web3 app. In the next lesson, we will discuss some technical details about our final project.